You're listening to the official Temple University's Football Coaches Show, brought to you by Peerless Boilers on Philadelphia's #1 college radio station, WHIP.
Thursday here on campus at Gelb and Chase Sr. here with you via WHIP, broadcasting to you live on your iHeartRadio app. Make sure you download the iHeartRadio app on your mobile devices and tablets. And since it's a Thursday, that means one thing. It's time for the official Temple University Football Coaches Show, powered by our fine friends at Peerless Boilers. Peerless builds America's best boilers. Now joining us on the hotline is the tight ends coach and the assistant head coach for your Temple Owls, who are in action trying to go to 5-2 on the year, going up against UCF this Saturday at 5 p.m. in Orlando, and that is Ed Foley. Coach, Zach and Chase here in Philly, how are you?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Well, we're doing great, and we appreciate you giving us a few minutes today. Last year, we all know what happened to UCF. You guys lost that game by 3. You dominated that game for most of it, but then J.J. Warden had that remarkable one-handed grab. Did the guys talk about that game last year and kind of use it as motivation for this upcoming Saturday?
Yeah, I think they did. I think they try to tell some of the younger guys some of the things that have gone on in the past. But essentially, this is a different team. This is a group of guys that is kind of new together, and they're just trying to take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, and follow the process of getting better every day.
We know last week it didn't go how you guys wanted it to go, as you guys were in Houston, had a chance to get a big win, get to 5 wins on the year, but the offense just didn't protect the football. And we know that Houston, they now have 30 straight games with the turnover. I think it's something like 25 out of the last 28. They have multiple turnovers in those games. How much of an emphasis was it this week in practice to protect that football after PJ threw 3 interceptions and fumbled the ball up at the 1-yard line?
It's a huge emphasis for us every week to take care of the ball. We have several drills that we do in terms of making sure that we have good ball security on offense, but the message hits home a little bit clearer after you have a game like that, and the kids start to coach it a little harder, which helps you out. We're coaching it as best we can, but if the kids aren't buying in or somehow they're looking at something else on a given week, maybe they lose sight of it. But we certainly lost sight of it last week, and we cannot do that if we want to be a good offense.
Assistant coach Ed Foley joins us on the Temple University Football Coaches Show. Zach Gelb and Chase Sr. here with you. And Coach, this is a team that was riding high going into that game against Houston. 3 straight wins, and then they get knocked back on their butt. What was the feel around the team after that Houston game? Because, it wasn't pretty, yet they were still in it late in the game.
Yeah, the feeling this week in practice was just a little down. I mean, the guys were thought we were going to go down there and really show well. And again, I think if we had played our kind of football game and came up a little bit short, the kids might have felt different. But the coaches and the kids alike felt very disappointed by the way we played. We didn't feel like that was Temple football. So I think there was a big disappointment on Sunday, and it carried into Monday in a little bit, to be honest with you. But we're over it, and the maturity in our team and our coaches we got over that and started to play a little bit better on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Now, you also do some work with the tight ends, and Colin Thompson transfers into Temple from Florida. He was a highly touted recruit coming out of Archbishop Wood High School, one of the top tight ends in the country at the high school level. He is getting consistent playing time now, but we haven't seen the catches, but he is on the field more. How has he been developing?
He's developing great. He's worked really hard at it. He doesn't have a ton of experience in our offense, and didn't do a lot during camp. So we're still bringing him along in terms of some of the routes and the overall package. But slowly but surely, he's getting better every week. He's a good kid. He's a hard worker. He's a tough kid, and I expected him to do some great things over the next couple of years.
Coach, when I was doing my preparation for this game that comes your way Saturday at 5 p.m., you can watch it on the CBS Sports Network. I realized that your defense, as we've been seeing a lot through this year, has been outstanding in the red zone. They lead the nation in red zone defense, and then UCF is 18th in the nation in red zone defense. Is this game going to be one in the red zone where you just have to walk away with 7 points and not 3?
That's a key to every game, but we got to try to get the ball down in there and score. We've done a nice job of kicking field goals this year, and we'll continue to do that. But the key down there is getting the ball in the end zone. Our defense has done a great job of getting stops on 4th down, blocking kicks, whatever it takes down there. They've held the opposition out, and UCF does a good job down there. They're a big physical defense, and they don't like to run the ball anywhere on the field. But when you get down there, they want you to have to make a play against man coverage or thread a needle to get a ball in there to move the ball for any great length.
I know Chase mentioned Colin Thompson, and then you also have Amosu and Sal Major. Those are some guys, all three of them, and I know Colin's been limited with some injuries and has only been in the last 2 or 3 games. The catches aren't really coming their way. I would have to imagine you guys would like to see them be more of a presence, especially inside of the 20s, because they're big frames for your quarterback in P.J. Walker.
Yeah, we've got some things that will go their way if the coverage goes a certain way. But we're basically a lunch pail group. We do what's asked of us. We run a route. We block. We're in play action. So we do whatever we got to do to try to make everybody else around us better. Sometimes that means the ball comes our way. Sometimes it doesn't. But certainly they are big targets. And because we haven't thrown to them a ton early, when the ball comes to them now, I think it's going to help us attack defenses and make them cover everybody.
We're spending a few minutes with assistant coach Ed Foley. And, Coach, it's really important for a quarterback to maintain a short mindset, especially after they have a game like P.J. Walker did against Houston. But we listened to Matt Rule on Tuesday, and he said that on Monday night at 9 p.m., P.J. Walker was in the facility watching film. Can you just talk about the dedication that you see from him behind the scenes? Because a lot of people don't see the tireless work and dedication players put in behind the scenes.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about PJ. Worrying about what's happened in the past. He's a tremendous competitor, and even within the course of the game, he had a great look about him all game last game. He was on the phones with Coach Satin, and I was in the box up there with him listening to the conversations, and he was composed. He was accountable. He's a great kid. He's a super preparer. He'll do whatever it takes to get himself ready. He's been an absolute pleasure to be around. He's a great kid, and he's very personable, and he's a leader on offense. He's not a real outgoing kid in terms of being loud and rah-rah, but he does a really good job with all that stuff, and he'll be ready to play this week.
An interesting story involves wide receiver Keith Kirkwood, who transfers in this summer from Hawaii. He wasn't even expected to be eligible this year, but going into that game against Tulsa, the NCAA got in contact with the team and said, hey, Kirkwood's ready to go. He catches a touchdown against Houston. He's a big guy. He can take the top off of the defense. What does he give you guys on offense?
He just knows how to play the position, it's really funny because he doesn't have a lot of experience in our offensive system either. And when you look at what he did at Hawaii last year, I think he had like 12 catches and 4 touchdowns. And we were joking around with him. He's got 2 catches here and he's got a touchdown already. He just has a really good knack of getting open, and he has really good hands. So he adds kind of a real calm, composed route running ability and just a little bit of confidence to a group that can use it. And we've got good receivers, but just having another guy out there with sure hands that knows what he's doing is certainly welcome.
Coach, we know who Keith Kirkwood was, but when he caught that touchdown, he didn't have a nameplate on the back of the jersey. Will he have a nameplate on the back of the jersey this week?
I'll get with Greg to make sure he does it. If he doesn't, then we'll get some of that eye black and we'll write it on there for the game so everybody knows who he is.
We're spending a few minutes with Ed Foley, assistant head coach for your Temple Owls, also coaches the tight ends, Temple 4-2, getting ready for UCF this Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch that game on the CBS Sports Network. And, Coach, the run game has been something that's been a work in progress. Sat was on the show a few weeks ago, and he said that he doesn't want this to be running back by committee. And one guy that has really gone out there and run through the gates has been Jihad Thomas. And in the offseason, PJ was saying, let's get Jihad on the offensive side of the ball. And obviously, we know their relationship going back to Elizabeth High School, where they won a state championship together. Just how much chemistry is there between PJ Walker and Jihad Thomas?
Let's not too much, but because where he plays favorites or whatever. But he would do that.
Every coach says that.
But Jihad's one guy who said, "Give me the ball." I mean, he does it with his actions. We've given him the ball, and he's made something happen with it on numerous occasions now. And he was a little banged up during camp, late in camp, and early in the season, and he was getting acclimated to what we were doing. But since he's become more comfortable and he's got those touches now, and when he gets them, he does something with them. So we got to keep giving it to him.
Every week when we hear Matt talk on Tuesday, he always says Temple has to win the battle in the trenches. And last week you guys didn't win the battle in the trenches. What are you telling the offensive linemen and some of your tight ends this week to try to get a better rushing attack up against UCF?
Well, it's funny because the battle was lost in the trenches, and I agree with you. But the battle was lost in a combination of ways. They punched us in the mouth a little bit, but we didn't do what we were trained to do. We got away from our training, and honestly, as coaches, maybe we try to do a little bit too much. But the kids didn't get in the right gaps all the time, and we have to do that. So we go back to the training and we say, guys, you got to get in your gap and take care of your gap. And if we can just do that and not worry about all the other things that are going on with the defensive people moving around, at the end of the day, you got to do your job and your gap and make sure that your guy doesn't make the play in the direction that you're going. So if we can just get back to doing that, I think the running game will take care of itself because our running backs are good enough that we'll be able to pop some holes. And we simplified it. We just told the guys, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this. And if you do that, then and we don't turn the ball over, we're going to move the football on the ground and in the air this week.
Coach, you've been around this game an extremely long time, and you know better than anybody that when one guy gets hurt, it's the next man up philosophy to assume that role. And you guys are dealing with some injuries at the linebacker position right now, but it opens up opportunities for other guys to come up and make plays.
Yeah, across the board, and this happens every year. I've been doing this for 27 years. There's a guy that we discover, like Tyler Matakevich a couple years ago.
Yeah,
right.
He's pretty good, right, Coach?
Yeah,
he ended up okay.
In his first game, I think he had 13 tackles. So we discovered him very quickly. But and a guy like Kirkwood or somebody in those situations, guys always have an opportunity to play and go out there and get it done. And that's why when you're a young player, you have to stay prepared. You got to stay on your training, and you got to make sure you know what's going on, even though it doesn't look like you're going to play this week. Hey, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks down the road, you got to be ready to go. Our young players do a really good job, and our veterans do a really good job with those young guys of talking to them about football and making sure that they stay in touch with everything that's going on. So that's helpful. But the guys got to step up when they get a chance.
Real quickly here, Coach, we had Tyree Foreman on last week, and I always like to talk to the guys that have been here for a while at Temple University because you've seen this program grow with Al and then Steve, and then finally Matt gets his chance to be the head coach. But this year, compared to the other 2 years that I covered this team, you guys just look like a more confident bunch. I even seen you guys walk around campus. Your players, they're starting to develop a little bit of an intensity and swagger on the field. Can you just talk about the culture of this team and how it's changed from last year to this year?
Yeah, I think the team started to come together right after the last game last year. We had a great offseason, and we had a tough offseason, and the kids kind of figured it out. Like, we got to come together. If we want to get through these workouts throughout the course of the winter and throughout the course of the spring, we got to come together. We got to bond. We got to help each other get through it. And by doing that and having a good spring and going over to Camden, at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning every couple of days, just kept adding to that. It was cold. We played in some elements over there. The kids never said anything. We just kept grinding all off season. And when we came into camp right away, the kids had the experience of going through that spring ball and going through all those things together and just really kind of gelled.
Coach, before we let you run, final one here on the way out with Ed Foley on the Temple University Football Coaches Show, powered by Peerless Boilers. Please excuse my singing voice, but after the game this week, I want to hear "He's Got High Hopes." Coach, we got to get a win on Saturday going up against UCF.
Yes, and Harry Callis turned over in his grave a couple years ago. We started singing that. But it stuck somehow. We were singing it one day with the boys back in 2008 or 9, and it's something the boys remembered. So we got to get them going after the game. And there's nobody who wants to sing more than our football team after a win because that means we got one.
Well, it definitely is fun, especially after the games. Every time when there's a home game and Matt comes in for his post-game press conferences, he has to go to Rich Berg and say, "Can they lower the music a little bit? No one can hear the questions being asked."
Yeah. We got to give these guys an appreciation for when rap music was at its finest back in the early '80s, and we get them going with a little bit of old school stuff and keep them on their toes.
Well, we always love some Frank Sinatra and some Harry Callis, but Coach, we appreciate a few minutes today. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Best of luck on Saturday.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
There's head coach Ed Foley joining us on the Temple University Football Coaches Show, powered by Peerless Boilers. And let me remind you, my friends at Peerless want to remind you to replace that beast in your basement with an American-made Energy Star certified Peerless boiler. Peerless is the world's leader in 90% plus efficient boilers like the Peerless Purifier, the most thoroughly tested high-efficiency boiler in the world. Make sure you go green, get green, save green, and put all the energy cost savings back where it belongs. Where? In your pocket. Check out the brand new WB9D high-efficiency oil-fired boiler. Visit PeerlessBoilers.com for a dealer nearest you. And remember, Peerless builds America's best boilers. I love when they sing High Hopes after games.
One of my favorite songs, and one of my favorite memories is seeing my favorite broadcaster of all time, Harry Callis, on the field at Citizens Bank Park after the Phillies won the World Series, singing that song.
So now,
funny story, actually.
Yes.
And I know we got to get to Johnny Damon. In my junior year of high school, we had a pretty good baseball team. We ended up making it to the playoffs, and after every road game on the bus, we would sing High Hopes. And I would start it off, and everybody would follow suit, and we'd sing High Hopes. So a great story right there.
Real quickly, because you do the Harry Callis impersonation, give me, in the Harry Callis voice, we got high hopes. Let's see it. Let's see if you can sing in the Harry Callis voice.
This is tough. We've got high hopes. We've got high hopes. We got high apple pie in the sky hopes.
There we go.
There you go.
That was amazing.
Harry the
John
K.
Cole, who's Mr. Philadelphia, is in the other room, and he's just giving a standing ovation.
High
How about
Hopes.
that?
Great song. Frank Sinatra. What a legend.
We got to get that song in the system. And next time we have Ed Foley on, we definitely got to play it for him. Okay, 215-204-9447, 215-204-WHIP is the number if you want to hop on board with us. We go from football to baseball. Johnny Damon, two-time World Series champion with the Red Sox and the Yankees, got drafted by the Kansas City Royals. Will join us next to talk Giants and Royals.